And hello, everyone in podcast land. How's everybody doing? Hope everybody having a great weekend. And this is the Author Showcase, where we do exactly that. We showcase authors. And not only that, we do musicians, we do influencers, we do publishers. So anything that has to do with writing and art, we got you right here on the Author Showcase. And so today we got Mary Kay here uh with us
Savory.
today. Savory, right.
Savory.
Uh, Hello and welcome to the show.
Hi, Keith. It is a thrill and an honor for me to be here with you on the Author Showcase. Um, just happy to be here with you at the moment.
The first question is always letting people know who you are.
Yes.
And then I like to talk about uh, some of the pieces that you have in there behind you as well. So let's start out by you telling everybody who you are.
Thank you very much for that. Yes, I am. My name is Mary, middle initial K, Savory. I am an award-winning, traditionally published fiction author, bestseller, and I'm also a speaker. I am known, Keith, for my quirky titles. My debut fiction novel was titled Tiger's Love, Bubble Bath, and Obsession Perfume. Who knew? And that was and is a murder mystery intertwined with the supernatural. I went on to have my second book published, which is the first of my StarWriters trilogy, and that is titled The Girl in the Toile Wallpaper. And as we continue our conversation, I have wonderful backstories to these titles because I am influenced by something that takes place, an event in my life. And I always begin with the title and I weave everything around that, the characters, the storyline. So I presently live in Florida, West Palm Beach, and I am thrilled to be here with you right now. Thank you.
So what who is your ideal audience?
My ideal audience is because I write in fantasy fiction. So that is truly somebody who loves fantasy adventure, somebody who loves science fiction. I love that genre because, Keith, reality is too real for me. So I love to write in that genre of fantasy. And I love to take my readers on an adventure and just take you onto that adventure and you just go with it with the characters, the places. And as I've been inspired with events in my life, I love to bring the readers into that.
So what are some of the things that is being discussed in your books?
Well, my debut novel, Tiger's Love, Bubble Bath, and Obsession Perfume, who knew? As I said, it is a murder mystery intertwined with the supernatural. And I began with the title. And how that came about is I visited a wildlife reserve in St. Augustine, Florida, an old folks' home for big cats, cats like tigers and lions and jaguars. And Keith, I watched this incredible 600-pound Siberian tiger walk across the plank, slip into a vat of bubbles. And I said to myself, tigers really do love bubble baths and obsession perfume. And I wrote a whole murder mystery around that. And then I went on. When I lived in Connecticut, I lived there for about 30 years, raising my family. I love up in the north. What is toile? Toile is very much an artistic wall covering or a fabric, and I had it in my house as wall covering. And I would look at it every day, and I would say to myself, "There's love there. There's betrayal. There is a story." So I then wrote my next novel. As I said, when I mentioned to you I am traditionally published, I am an overnight success, Keith, a 10-year overnight success, because that's what it took for me to find a publisher who was interested in publishing my first piece of work, The Tigers Love Bubble Bath. And that was they're all my books are award winning. Tigers, I'm thrilled and honored to say it was awarded with 8 awards, and it was a bestseller. And at that point, I approached my publisher with an idea for a trilogy, my small publishing house, and they were not interested. So I was able to find an all women's publishing house that was interested in the trilogy. And I am thrilled to say the first book was published. That was a little bit over a year ago. The second book in the trilogy, the StarWriters Club, will be published within the next month. So it's been a long journey, Keith, as I'm sure you know yourself.
The so I mean, I haven't heard of like a lot of murder mysteries,
Mhm.
books being out. We know in the 70s and 80s that was very popular.
Yes,
So you had the Columbos, you had the Alfred Hitchcock, and you have the TV show Murder She Wrote in the 80s. You got Columbo and all these murder mystery shows. Did I say Agatha Christie? Yeah, I said
yes,
Agatha Christie, Alfred Hitchcock. You have all those folks. And it's kind of sort of died down after the late 90s. And we're now starting to see a trend, coming back with murder mysteries and fantasies and things. And why do you think that those type of novels are coming back? And I understand that we live in a chaotic world, and some people just want to step away from reality a little bit and kind of like
yep,
imagine they are in a different place, which is what really
yep.
book is supposed to be about. Your thoughts on that?
Right. I mean, you nailed it right on the head. To step away from reality. Now, the Tigers Love Bubble Bath and Obsession Perfume, who knew? That was my fourth manuscript. As I said, Keith, I spent a decade submitting to publishing houses. And that yes, they were interested at that point in that mystery that I wrote. But what I did was I weaved it, the reader sees a supernatural twist to it, and the characters do not. My main character, the protagonist, Angie Pantera, does not, but the readers see all of that. Why is that back? I've noticed there are many, many series. People love the series, which is why I developed my trilogy. But my first book was actually not meant to be a series whatsoever. It was really meant to be, let me take you on this one-time journey, and I left it at that. But as you said, people love to just there's some people in my Tigers book. Not only do I have one death that takes place, I have many, many. And who's responsible for it? Is it my protagonist? Is she running away from it? Is she the cause of it? So people just love. I think mysteries are here to stay, and I think people will always love to come back to them.
Your first novel won 8 awards and received
Yes,
5 stars.
yes, yes. and I'm thrilled and honored. One of the things that I have learned in the publishing world, I worked with the editor, and you've got to get it right. Their editors are very tough on you, as you know, because they want to produce a novel that is able to win awards. So you are submitting with other exceptional authors. So to have an award given to any one of my books, as I said, The Tigers was awarded 8. The Girl in the Toile Wallpaper was awarded the New York City Big Book Award, as well as the International Royal Dragonfly, and that is in fantasy, adventure, and science fiction and young adult and on. But publishers find it very important, not only for your book, obviously, it helps to become that bestseller, because as readers are looking, why should I read your book? If they see that an award is attached to it, it's definitely a plus to get their attention.
Yeah, I mean, understand that from a publisher standpoint of view, but I have people telling me that they kind of like overstep their bounds, or
Mm-hmm.
they like the authors have an issue with the editors and the publishers, taking away their creative ability.
Mm-hmm.
It goes beyond the scope of the vision of the book. I heard people say that. And then you have a book that's outside of that author's vision, even though that my name is attached, to the spirit and context and continuity, of that book. It's not really me, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um some I heard some people mention that, and that's not a good thing. Also too, like for example, if a book becomes like a movie or a TV show,
Mm-hmm.
they'll say, well, this is totally outside of the context and continuity of the book. I wanted for this TV show or movie to, represent
Mm-hmm.
exactly what's in the book. So we get that, as well. And the context is off. Uh and that's frustrating a lot of, authors, because it's kind of like someone is taking over, my work. It's not really mine anymore. And sometimes, I get that. I hope that's not your case, that's not happening to you. But it's a real issue among authors. They feel
Mm-hmm.
that someone else has taken over, their work, and they feel it's not really theirs anymore, even though their name was attached and they're doing okay with it. You have not experienced that, have you?
No, I have. I understand exactly what you're saying, because what happens when you are working with an editor, I find it's a love-hate relationship. And in my own personal experience, yes, they will take apart my words, or they'll move it here or there. And it's truly, I have found it's my idea, but I do have fights with the editor. I want you to keep this in, or I want you to keep in. But truly, I have found in my own experience that, a manuscript, once you hand it into an editor, they want your best interest at heart, and they want the book to be professionally. It has the publisher's name on it. It has the editor's work associated with it. But in my own case, Keith, I've been very fortunate. I've worked with a very tough editor, but I truly feel that they have brought my work to the next level. And by that, I mean, it's just massaging it. It's maybe giving it, coming back to me and say, hey, maybe we can change this a little bit, but I want you to do it. So I've had a very positive experience. And as a matter of fact, the girl in the Toile wallpaper, the first of my StarWriters trilogy, that is currently in production as an audiobook. So I'm very, very excited about that. And as you said, truly hoping that a producer comes along and is interested in my work. But as you know, you said that at that point, once you sign on with the producer, they have the right to even change it, maybe keep your main idea, but change so many things.
I'm curious to know, how did you come up with the names of these books?
Well, the Tiger's book, as I said, I watched a beautiful 600-pound Siberian tiger walk across a plank in this wildlife reserve in St. Augustine, Florida. And tigers love bubble baths. They are the only big cats that love water to begin with, and they will sit in bubbles all day. And the Obsession perfume, the wildlife handler sprayed Obsession perfume on this tiger that I saw at this wildlife reserve, and he lapped it up like a cocktail. Why they love Obsession perfume is it calms them down, and it has pheromones in it. And where you say you're the publisher, my publisher said to me, Mary, please tell me you have a tiger in a bubble bath. And I said, yes, I very much do. It is the climax in the book. And I love to write with quirky titles. And the girl in the Toile wallpaper, Toile tells a story. It has many different scenes in it, usually two-toned, very artistic. And I see a whole world in there of betrayal, of love. So I write my stories. I begin with the title, I develop the concept, and then the characters. And it just it has a life of its own, and it takes off from there. And I think that's what I love about writing the most.
Your second book,
Yes.
uh, according to my notes,
The girl in the Toile
has
wallpaper.
yes, has been compared to Doctor Who and
Yes.
A Wrinkle in Time. Now,
Yes.
in the past have watched some of the episodes and Doctor Who, and I was like really intrigued with like
Yes.
the opening sequences. And then let's talk about that a little, bit.
Sure.
This is one of this is from the U.S. Review of Books.
Yes.
So what's the story behind that?
Because in the girl in the Toile wallpaper, I have a time travel aspect to it. It begins in the contemporary world, and my protagonist Tyler, he is drawn into this world to help save the girl in the Toile wallpaper. She was put into the Toile wallpaper because of family loyalty. You even hear about this today, but centuries ago, I take the reader back to Florence, Italy, to a time a couple of centuries ago where family loyalty involved being married off to somebody that the family needed in the business. And my character, her heart falls in love with somebody else, and she's betrayed, and therefore she becomes the girl in the Toile wallpaper. So I had to come about one of the things I fought with my editor about is, even though you say it's fantasy, and as an author you think, oh, I can write about anything, it's fantasy, there are still strict lines, Keith, I found, that you still had to follow. So that's why I loved this comparison to A Wrinkle in Time or Doctor Who, because they vividly use time travel. So that is an aspect of the girl in the Toile wallpaper.
So both of these characters like into like time
Mhm.
travel.
In the second book, yes, my main characters, they begin in the contemporary. I introduce the reader to a past and a past history, and then I bring the reader back into the present. And time travel, you have to explain how is it possible. You just can't pull things out of air. You have to tie it into the story. And that's one of the things that the editor is very, very good at. They can see that whole picture, and they are able to work with you that it's realistic, because you want your book to have a realistic theme to it.
But I thought that the whole point of I thought that the whole point of having these books is you want to have some realistic elements to
Yes,
it. I understand that, but people still want to like, I want to step away from reality,
yes,
a little bit and go into this world of fantasy and make believe, and maybe, I
yep,
can be indulged in that and get out of my troubles a little bit. Uh and that's what TV has done in the
yes,
late 60s, early 70s. One particular film series, uh one particular movie series in the United States, uh, had a blend of reality and a fantasy. They call it escapisms and sensationalism.
mm-hmm.
It's where both of those worlds, the fantasy and the reality, uh, was intertwined,
Mm-hmm.
and millions of people tune in, every week for 90 minutes. That was
Yes,
like there was like their time to which they can escape reality a little bit and
yep,
dip dab into fantasy.
yes.
And I thought that that was intriguing. A lot of those movies you can see uh,
Uh,
on YouTube for those of you who like to watch those type of movies. A lot of them are available on YouTube
yeah.
uh, to
Mm-hmm.
watch.
Oh, I love fantasy movie. I love that whole Jumanji series. That is beautiful to me, fantasy. I can sit there and as an author, I look at it and I try to see like how they take the fantasy and they weave it. But no, yeah, that's exactly what fantasy is. You take reality and you put a twist to it. And as an author, that is my favorite thing to do in the whole world. I can just keep going on and on. Take something in our real lives and put a twist on it, and you're able to take the reader into a fantasy world.
Is that something that we are, coming back to? Because I know for a while there, has been an absence of these type of, books. I think a lot of people have gotten more,
Mm-hmm.
realistic here.
Mm-hmm.
And some of it, and I'm just gonna be real, some of it is like fake as I don't know what. Uh, I mean, they can call it real, but it's really, if you really like look deep into it, it's really not like the presence of so-called reality TV, which is it's really not, reality,
Mm-hmm.
I think that they like make stuff up in order to, garnish ratings.
Mm. I agree with you. Everybody's always trying to push that envelope. So, in the fantasy world, you do have more permission, I think, to do that. But as you said, they're doing it in everything to get ratings in more ways
Right.
than one. Yes.
Yeah, I think that started like in the mid 60s, where
Mhm.
in the motion picture world, people was like pushing the envelope as to what was acceptable and what was not acceptable. And for those of you who are not familiar with it, uh, this is for the audience, that they had what is called the Hayes Codes, where it was certain, there was a set of guidelines for motion pictures to follow. It's basically say, well, here's the things that you can do and say, and here are some of the things that you cannot do or you cannot say, right? Well, in the mid 60s, uh, producers and actors, they was like, pushing that envelope. They was going to that fine line to what was acceptable and not acceptable. And the culture was changing at that time. And
Mhm.
so things started to go under the cracks. We started to see productions that was like never, taken upon, with even when it comes to like mystery and thriller and fantasy, that also took a romance, that
Mhm.
also had evolved, as well to the point that those set of rules just, did not work.
Yeah.
And people love it because they wanted something, different. Movies were becoming more cliche and people wanted to see something different. And
Mhm.
so and that's when the barrier was broken, and that's how we got what we got, right now, even in terms of, but in book writing, I think you said it already that in book writing, you can kind of like get away from that. But now, and I don't know if you heard this, is that we're seeing some books being pulled from libraries. They're being banned
Yeah.
in certain states because of some of the content, that's in it, whether it's fiction or nonfiction. Um, and so authors are, nowadays they're being cautious, about that. But for me personally, I think that takes away the author's creativity, to say, hey, we got to be politically correct. I do not agree with that. I
Mm-mm.
think that, whatever's in your mind in terms of that, and if you have a passion for writing, then you should be free to do that.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
I think that we
yeah.
need to, and I think we need to come back to that. And the thing is, I think a lot of people are in their feelings, I think they're in their feelings. Just this is point blank. They're
Yeah.
just in their feelings. We have a handful of people that are just trying to control the masses. And I'm like, nah, as long as I'm not infringe, infringing on your constitutional
Mhm.
rights, I should be able to do whatever I want. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm like, you don't like it, move on. You know,
Right.
you're always gonna have an audience. So you're always gonna have an audience though. So, for you authors who might feel discouraged in that sense, keep writing.
That's that. You know what? Right. I agree with you with that. And it's like we're here at the author showcase, and what if you have such a passion in your heart to do this, as I said, it took me over 10 years to become traditionally published, but it helped me. I loved to sit and just write, and it was a hobby. And just to have these ideas and put them down on paper and create worlds, I mean, to me, that's one of the most incredible things. And it's helped me through a lot of things in my life. As the kids were leaving the nest, I needed purpose. And I think that's so important for people to have purpose and to never give up on themselves. I mean, you said it exactly. Everybody's there to put you down and to say, no, you can't do it. But if you truly have a passion in your heart for something, it just doesn't have to be writing, it could be anything. Never give up on yourself, stick with it. And I can promise you, it'll happen for you, not overnight, but it'll happen if it's a passion of yours and you stick with it, because I mean, I'm a perfect example of that happening.
What do you hope to what do you hope to accomplish as a writer? What message are you trying to
Yeah.
convey to the world?
You know what? I'm not trying to be a Pulitzer Prize winning author. I am just trying to make people happy. I just, you come home, you've worked, you have your kids, you want a little escapism. And that's what I am trying to create, is to create a wonderful escapism for you via a fantasy adventure. And what I do is I love to intertwine it with not just one romance, but several romances within different ages, because that's what makes life, is that romance. So it's really to give people enjoyment, just to take you out of your everyday life, take a little time for yourself, grab a glass of wine or something, and just delve into a book. And I mentioned to you, Keith, that I do podcasts, and I'm always asked, audiobooks. Do you have an audiobook? They've become very, very popular. So The Girl in the Toile Wallpaper is currently in the production phase of becoming an audiobook, which is, I find that so exciting. I mean, that was the other thing I've heard. People just don't sit and read anymore. They're doing something. They're walking, they're exercising, they're gardening, and they're listening to a story. So I want to entice you with a fantasy adventure, bring you enjoyment. That's my bottom line.
Now, in audiobooks, do the authors normally do the book, or they'll get somebody else to do it?
It an author can do their own book. I decided, I grew up in Brooklyn. You can hear my Brooklyn accent. I didn't think I would be appropriate to read the book. So I did, we were able to hire a voiceover actress to, there are companies that will do the work. And so it's just very exciting to hear your story come alive than somebody reading it out loud. It's fun.
Are there any book authors that not say look up to, but inspire you to?
Oh, yes. I mean, I am very much inspired by what I cannot write. So and I say this all the time, one of my favorite authors is David Baldacci, because he writes political thrillers, and I cannot write in that world. So that's where I really learned. I learned the craft too. Not only do you learn it by honing, writing constantly, but when you read other authors' work, and I always think back and I laugh. I remember thinking, my goodness, it takes them, right, Keith? What you could write in one page, they spread out over 200 pages. And that's the secret. I was told by an editor, here's the secret to writing. If you can see it in your head as the movie and get it down on paper, you too can write a novel. That's the secret.
Oh, man. I know a lot of authors, mention, other people, some I heard of and some I have not, heard of, but everybody has like their,
Mm-hmm.
particular author that they like, look up to. And so I admire that. Okay, we're gonna get ready to close, but um it says you also a speaker as well.
Yes.
So what type of things that you talk about?
Basically, I will speak about anything. Give me a topic that has to do with getting into the profession. People love to hear about that. I will go to women's groups, anything and everything. I'm happy to talk about. You can ask me anything, but pretty much I will be asked to speak at women's groups, at church groups. And it's just basically, how did you break into this? How did you get started? Because it's, when I was submitting, like I said, my goal, Keith, was to become traditionally published. Well, 10 years ago, we didn't have what we have today. Today, the self-publishing is not the taboo it was years ago. You still have to be careful. But nowadays, authors, the self-publishing has changed significantly. You have co-publishing. You still have traditional publishers, but they're very much closed to a lot of authors unless you're coming in with the literary agent. But I'll tell you what's changed. There are a lot of small publishing houses because the publishing world has changed. So people love to hear about that. They love to hear about my backstories for titles and other things like hobbies. How can a hobby help you if you're struggling? I will pitch a lot of different ideas. I've experienced supernatural things in my life. So I talk about that. I talk about my faith. And I'm happy to talk about anything, my backstories. It's wonderful to share with everybody.
Okay, Mary, it's really a great pleasure, having you on here. I'm actually dealing with a storm.
Oh dear. Okay.
Yeah. So, folks, if you hear like a lot of rain and thundering, that's why. But nevertheless, I'm glad that we got most of this out of the way before I actually came. And just trying to stay safe. So as we close, I have two more questions for you. The first question is how people will be able to reach you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much for that. Yes, my books are on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, independent bookstores. I always love to send people there. If the book's not on the shelf, they'll order it. And visit me in my author website, www.mary, M-A-R-Y-K, Savarese, SAVARESE.com. And I have wonderful experiences for you there. Sign up. I always try to pick a winner each month. Sign up with your emails. And I choose a winner a month for a book. And please look for me. The Girl in the Toile Wallpaper has the second book in the trilogy, the StarWriters Club, coming out within the next month. And follow me and get in touch with me. I'd love to touch base with all my readers.
And the last question is that we give all of our guests the opportunity for a last word.
Yes.
So what is your last words to the audience?
My last word to you is to never, ever, ever give up on yourself. If you have a passion in your heart and your soul, everybody will try to put you down. Stick with it. It will happen for you. And don't let anybody ever tell you you're not worth it, because you're worth it. And it'll happen for you too. So never, ever give up on yourself for your dream.
All right, everyone. Let's show some love for Mary K. Savarese.
Savarese. Very good. Yes.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come on over here to the author showcase. I just want to wish you the best in your endeavors, and keep on knocking out records and getting all these awards, and just making a difference. And a lot of people don't realize that when we talk about people making a difference, we automatically hear people like first responders and medical personnel, community organizers, activists, advocates. But we rarely show love to those who, are bringing laughter and joy and even entertainment, to people. So, like, look on.
Well, thank you for having me, and it's been an honor to be with you here. And I hope you stay safe with the storm there.
All right, and thank you so much. And that would conclude the author showcase for this week. Certainly thank Mary for being with us today. Be sure to join us next week where we'll have another wonderful author to showcase. So until then, you guys stay safe and have a great weekend.